Aaron Dykes here for Infowars.com. Now, we've seen already how the gun grabbers will stop at almost nothing to advance their agenda as long as they get to rein in the Second Amendment right, because the fact that individuals have rights is very threatening to any authoritarian government, whatever its stripes, political stances, or colors. But the latest hoax we saw on MSNBC is just incredible. They went out of their way to distort gun owners and advocates of the Second Amendment right who were in testimony Monday with the parents of the Sandy Hook victims. And MSNBC deliberately edited testimony of Neil Heslin, the father of Jesse Lewis, as he advocated restricting assault rifles, banning high-capacity clips, which is fine. You can understand his grief, why he would speak out on that, even though I think it's a misguided position. I certainly sympathize with the families who lost children, with anyone who's lost children or family members in a tragedy. But what's not okay is the way that Martin Bashir, Lawrence O'Donnell, and other figures on MSNBC, on blogs across the internet, went with the hoax on purpose, where Neil Heslin, in the middle of his testimony, asked the rhetorical question, who of you in this room can answer this question? Why does anyone in this room need to have an assault rifle or a high-capacity clip? And he waits a few seconds, there's silence, and he says, no one can answer that question in this room. And so a number of gun rights advocates who were there at the hearing spoke up, saying that you shall not infringe on the Second Amendment.
I ask if there's anybody in this room that can give me one reason or challenge this question, why anybody in this room needs to have one of these assault-style weapons or military weapons or high-capacity clips. And now one person can answer that question or give me any.
Second Amendment shall not be infringed.
All right.
And what they did was edited this part of the testimony, edited out the part where the father asked the question, and just made it look like people were interrupting this father's testimony who had just had children die in Sandy Hook, and obviously it's a very sympathetic moment.
We're all entitled to our own opinion, and I respect their opinions and their thoughts, but I wish they'd respect mine and give it a little bit of thought.
A father's grief interrupted by the cries of a heckler. That was the scene today in Hartford, Connecticut, where the parents of children killed at Sandy Hook Elementary testified before an audience that wasn't always friendly.
Deliberately distorted it, just like they deliberately edited the audio of the Trayvon Martin shooting to make it seem like it was racially motivated, when in fact it turned out that Zimmerman had often worked with the black community. He himself was a mixed race, and really race shouldn't have been the main issue of that. Certainly it's legitimate to question if his death was justified. We get that MSNBC is state-run propaganda for the Obama administration, just as Fox News was blatantly state propaganda during the George W. Bush years. And the next time they roll out a president, maybe they'll switch networks again, or maybe MSNBC will continue on its current track. I get it. What do you expect from a pig but a grunt? But what I don't understand is why they always paint anyone who asks questions, anyone who stands up for rights, anyone who says that we're being delivered hoaxes in the media to push an agenda, why those people are blamed, and why they always say, how dare you ask those questions or defend those rights because of the families who have victims from this tragedy. Why don't any of the parents from these tragedies, whether it's 9/11 or Sandy Hook or any the Colorado shooting, anything, why don't they get mad at the establishment using their tragedy to advance the establishment's agenda? It's very clear. We know that Feinstein was pursuing the assault weapons ban before the Sandy Hook shooting. It's very clear that Rahm Emanuel said their policy, that the Obama administration's policy, is to use crises. Don't let a good crisis go to waste.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
We know that the Patriot Act was written beforehand and on the books, and the Bush administration was looking for the excuse to get it put into law. We know that the Project for a New American Century wanted a Pearl Harbor style attack to advance an American empire agenda, a multi-theater war overseas. We know they have agendas. They announce them, they've been uncovered, found by researchers, but they always say, how dare the researchers question, how dare you question those in power who admittedly are just seeking more power and will use any tragedy to find it. Why don't the parents get mad at the establishment for using their tragedy? That I don't understand. And why do we put up with MSNBC deliberately advancing hoaxes? It's sickening. Aaron Dykes signing off for Infowars.com.